look at the fact that heat waves, look at the number of bushfires we're having, the floods, the droughts. And people say, well, we've always had those, but not with the frequency that we have.
You're based in Western Victoria and you've become quite involved with the seismic blasting campaign down there. Can you tell us a bit more about seismic blasting and how you came to be involved in that campaign?
Seismic blasting is actually surveys used by the petroleum companies to determine the location of pockets of oil and gas off and onshore.
Right.
And that is that blast at anywhere from 180 to 250 decibels that is really a loud blast. It's not just a sound. That would you out of the water, destroys zooplankton, the bottom of the food chain, destruction of scallop beds, sets the sensory organs of rock lobsters, affects the fish catch, and obviously interferes with hearing, breathing, and escape mechanisms of marine wildlife.
Yeah, gosh.
So it really is a very destructive practice. And that's where oil and gas begins its journey to our living room.
Can you give us a bit of an update on some of the wins in the campaign so far?
Basically, the companies that are involved in this area were TSG / SLB. They were knocked back by NOxSEMA.
Okay.
NOxSEMA
is out of the water at the moment. That project isn't going ahead. Okay.
BGS.
Great.
And ConocoPhillips, CGG are two others that basically are supposed to have an outcome from the environmental plan that they submitted to NOxSEMA at the end of this month. Beach Energy in the Otways for quite some time now. Cooper Energy, which has changed their name to Amplitude. We are doing some reconfiguration of the licenses that they hold. And this is all offshore. So what we're trying to do is say, okay, no seismic blasting, period. And trying to put in motion getting a moratorium on that.
Okay.
And
a moratorium would basically say, until we get some other legislation around it, you can't do it. Is that right?
The rising temperatures, bushfires, droughts, flooding, what is sometimes called hydroclimate whiplash is a term that's being used to describe what's happening in California, where they've had a drought, a bit of really intense rain, growth, and then suddenly fire again. And within a short period of time. That's happened here in Victoria as well.
Mm-hmm. What can health workers actually do to come out in support of this campaign against seismic blasting?
I guess education is the key. It's trying to communicate with the public, not people that we talk to. Some of them say, well, if you mention a scientific study, they say, scientists, what do they know? They don't really understand science. They're even becoming a bit more dubious about some of our healthcare as well. I go to Google, to find the answer. So it's basically, it's good that they're questioning, and it's up to us to be well enough informed to at least provide some answers for workers, a listener, taking that on board and say, okay, fine, I understand what you're saying, but have you thought about ... And then you invite a discourse, look at the heat waves, look at the number of bushfires we're having, the floods, the droughts. And people say, well, we've always had those, but not with the frequency that we have. CO2 stays in the environment for 100 to 10,000 years. It's the largest greenhouse gas. Methane stays in there when it depending on the literature, 14 to 17 years before it converts. And methane has increased by 20% over the last 2 decades. Here in Australia, that has the cleanest air in the world, according to NOAA. So the emissions are either leaking out very, very freely. The technique for measuring that is becoming much more sophisticated. But, people say, I can't see it. It really is.
Yeah. It's a gas. Of course you can't see it. If it was leaking in your home, you wouldn't be able to see it either, but it's still going to kill you.
Yeah.
Hey, Patricia, thank you so much for joining us today on Voices for a Healthy Future. It's great for health workers to be able to hear other health workers that are really passionate in this space and doing work and might be looking for ways in which they might be able to contribute too.
Find your voice. You're a voter. Talk to your politicians. They're elected to help serve the community, and they should really be more attuned to the overall damage that we're doing in our environment.